Hi everyone, thank you for being here today. I'm Julian, this is Pete. So we're gonna be your hosts for tonight, just for an hour at least. Shall we get started?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, so today we're going to be talking about marketing in the climate space. So I'm actually interested to see how many founders there is in the room. Okay, about 60%, I would say. Yeah. How many marketers? Any marketers in the room? Okay, a couple. That's good. Well, hopefully we are going to give you some tips that will be useful. That will be useful for your companies. Yeah, then just at the end we'll start the presentation. We'll have a bit of a Q&A session at the end. We've got a bit of time before the next session, about an hour, so we can hang around a little bit longer for a bit of a networking session as well. So yeah, let's get started. So first of all, we'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional owners of the land we're meeting today. So we pay our respect to elders past, present, and emerging, and celebrate the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the land. I would like to also thank the Climate Action Week Sydney and all the people that have worked a lot to make this happen. This is really great to have. This is the first edition of Climate Action Week, if you don't know. So it's a lot of work that has happened behind the scenes. So in particular, Greenhouse, Baleness, and City of Sydney are the main sponsors for the event. And of course, thank you EnergyLab for hosting us today. That's great. That's great that we are able to do that. So just a couple of words about us. So I'm Julian, this is Pete. I'm just going to give you let's Pete introduce himself in a second. But just to give you a bit of background, so I run a marketing agency called G-Transition that I started about 4 years ago now, and we focus on climate technology and sustainability marketing. I've been a friend of EnergyLab for quite a few years as well, and I'm part of the group of mentors. I'm also a marketing advisor for the New South Wales government in a program called Business Connect. And just a couple of words around G-Transition. So we focus on a few things. So marketing strategy. We help founders with building their marketing strategies. We help them implement those strategies across multiple channels. Our focus is mostly on sustainability marketing. We offer also services around coaching and fractional CMO work, depending on the size of the business. That's it about me. Please. To you.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yep, awesome. Does anybody know what a power pal is? Anybody heard of power pal before? I'm always fascinated to see how people describe the product. At the back, what's a power pal?
Residential energy advisor system.
Pretty close. Yeah, so power pal manufactures what I like to call a Fitbit for your energy meter. So it's a little Bluetooth transmitter that you clip onto your existing electricity meter in your home. You have to have a digital electricity meter to work with power pal, which about 50% of meters in Victoria are now digital, and 100% in Victoria, 50% elsewhere. And you can self-install the product. So it just takes 30 seconds to clip onto your meter, and then we have a mobile app that allows you to see your energy use in real time. And when we say real time, the first thing anybody does when they get the product installed is they run around their house, turning on and off all their appliances and going, "Oh, I didn't realise it cost so much to run the air conditioner," or "Actually, my lights don't cost that much to run," and sort of educating themselves. So you get this visceral connection to your energy use very quickly through the app. But then the mobile phone also acts as an internet gateway, so it uploads data from the device to the cloud. We run analytics on that data and send back nudge messages or advisory messages back to you to help you improve your energy efficiency. So that's power pal in a nutshell.
Excellent. All right, so a bit of an agenda. So what we're going to do today, the format we're going to take is to just look at a few specific challenges that the industry is facing that we've noticed over the years. And what we'll do is we're going to go through a framework that is very useful, that works really well to build a good marketing strategy. And what we'll do at the end is that we'll have a great illustration of the importance of a good marketing strategy through Power experience. So I think Pete grew that business from $0 to $40 million in about 3 years. And marketing was really an important piece of that puzzle. And so he's going to take us through the roller coaster of
what we're going to show you is a bit of behind the scenes. So, you think startups like this start at the bottom and there's exponential growth and everybody, gets a big exit and goes off into the sunset. I'm going to show you what it's really like to run a high growth tech startup. It's not quite that pretty.
It is a bit pretty, but yes, definitely there is some challenges. Okay, so first thing I want you to talk about is a few of those specific challenges that the climate industry face. Most of the time, very often, we've got complex technologies. When I say specific challenges, I'm talking about marketing challenges, obviously, right? So complex technologies. So very often we have something that is hard to understand for the normal person. So one of the big challenges is to make the message clear and understandable for your audience. So what we've noticed is that that's usually the number one problem when we talk about complex technology. The second one is about market understanding. So there is a lack of education in industries in general, but those technologies often focus on a niche market or a very specialized market, and you find that a lot of people don't know about the challenges that your technology is trying to solve. That's one of those things that we see very often. So building awareness, focusing on educating the audience is key to make that work. You might be competing with established technologies as well. So if you're targeting a market that has established tech, how are you going to gain those market shares? How are you going to build that awareness? Becomes very difficult, and you've got to find a very compelling message in this industry to make that work. We're looking at longer sales cycles. Obviously, if there is large investments required, there will be a due diligence required by your customers, and so that can drive your sales process over months, potentially years. And so, from a marketing perspective, you need to have the capacity. So, understanding the funnel, how long it takes for what are the steps to bring your potential customers down the funnel to make sure that you've got enough information to get them at each step. Limited awareness. Climate technology is fairly new, so your potential market doesn't necessarily know that you exist. So again, the awareness is important to get the message out there and making sure that you get your technology or your solutions in front of your potential buyers. Limited trust and credibility, that's also a big one, because you have to prove that your solution is reliable, is scalable, and if someone invests into your business, then you're gonna provide the return that you say you promise it, right? And so building that trust is very, very important. Quickly as well, some mistakes that we see very, very often when we talk about marketing. So an overly technical messaging. So that's what I mentioned before. Very often, I don't know about you in this room, but what I know is that a lot of people come from academic backgrounds, technical backgrounds, not necessarily business backgrounds. And so very often these individuals tend to talk about their solutions in a very technical way that is not necessarily the way people want to hear about them, or is understandable for your ideal prospect. So that prospect might be a business owner, that might be a procurement person. And so being able to clearly articulate your message, the benefits is important. That's the main mistake that we see. Another one is about focusing on environmental benefits. So because we're in the climate space, we think that that's what people care about the most. They do care about it, but unfortunately, this is not the main thing. So being a climate solution doesn't mean that you need to focus on environmental benefits only. And we'll look into this in more details later, but That's a really important piece where we want to focus on other benefits and potentially other problems that people are trying to solve. Ignoring diversity of audiences, that's also very common. We've got one solution and we've got one message across everybody, but you might be selling to different markets. And so you want to make sure that you've got a clear message for each one of your audiences. It's not just one fits all. It will be too easy. Really. Being tactical versus strategic. So we also often see that founders, and that's very true in the early days more than when you're more established. When you're early days of your business, you might want to go straight for a solution that can be, I don't know, Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads, and be tactical with this and not looking at the overall strategy and where it fits in your marketing approach. And that can really have a negative impact on your business as you grow. And so we'll touch on that as well, a lot more. But that's quite important to think about that. Not learning from data is also another one. So we tend to focus on the wrong data sometimes, especially if we're not from the marketing background. And we tend to look at what we call vanity metrics. So the likes and the shares and the people talking about your solution. It's great, but this is not necessarily meaning you're making sales. So you want to really know what data you want to focus on and not be distracted by those ones. Finally, looking for a silver bullet. There's no one-fits-all approach. So it's all about testing. It's all about trying. You make assumptions, and then you test those assumptions and see what actually sticks. And I think Pete is going to show us exactly that.
Yeah, we've got some very good case studies later. I think I'm probably a bit weak on the strategic bit. If we ever got strategic with PowerPole, I'm not sure where it happened. But you can point it out when we get to the case study.
Exactly.
Being tactical is a law for founders all the way through.
Yeah. Okay, so how to build an effective marketing strategy? So the way we approach this is usually for 3 steps. So we look at the customer proposition, so understanding your target customers really, really well. And how do you what is your offer for this target market? And only then we look at the engagement strategy, and so we look at the channels, and we look at what we're going to say. And finally, we look at how we measure the success for this specific strategy. So this is only one slide, but honestly, this is the biggest part. This is what takes the longest to figure out. So getting the right message for the right audience. So first of all, who is your audience? Big question, and that changes along the way as well. So when you're in the early startup, you might want to look for early adopters and you look for investors. As you become more established, you might go after different markets. So you want to really understand exactly who those markets are. You want to, if you're in the B2C space, that's going to be the demographics, but also habits of your audience, where they live, what they do. You want to understand those very, very well. You want to, if you're in the B2B space, it's also which industry your customer is in. What's your perfect customer in that target market as well? So you might have a larger target market, your exact persona, your exact ideal customer might be a subset of that. So you want to identify that. And even deeper than that, you want to know who you're going to talk to in that company. Are you talking to a procurement person? Are you talking to a managing director? ESG, potentially ESG manager. So you really want to nail down to who is the initiator of that conversation. And so that takes time, right? This is not something that we can just come up with in half a day. You've got to do a lot of research and understand that market really well. Then we get into the challenges. What are the problems that these people are facing? So we're looking at the pain points, the needs, and that's going to be also in the B2B space. What's the business challenge they're trying to solve, and also how can we translate that into a personal challenge that business person is facing. So I don't know, if you're in the carbon space, for example, the company needs to is part of the mandatory disclosure at the end of this calendar year. What is the challenge? Who is responsible for that challenge? And what's their personal challenge? If they can't figure it out, then they may be out of the door, and so that's the challenge that we want to address. So again, that takes time. Interviews, getting to know your audience very, very well is very important. So that's this phase is really crucial.
It's one thing I'll probably add to that, Julian, which is, so I've been doing work recently with early and late stage founders to help them with their commercial strategy. And the number of conversations I've had where assumptions are being made here. So someone has got a preconceived idea in their head, or they've done some desk research, or they've had some conversations with people in the industry and have come up with a view. And where I challenge them to say, have you actually spoken to a customer about that, and ask them what their view is? So when we did PowerPal, we were a B2C product, right? So I was grinning when Julian was saying, you're talking to procurement managers and things like that. I spent a lot of time in people's homes, including a guy called Brian who lit up a bomb while I was talking to him, which he assured me only had tobacco in, so it was absolutely fine. I spent 2 weeks in the field every day with our installers, door knocking, talking to people about the product, understanding what their motivations were. There is no shortcut here. You cannot get this messaging right from your office. There's a phrase that I love from product management, which is NIHITO, which is nothing interesting happens in the office. It's so important to get out there and talk to people to gather this information.
Absolutely. And that's fine to start with assumptions, right? At first, you have assumptions, that's all you have. But then you slowly get into the details of it. And the more you understand your audiences, the better you're going to be able to answer to their needs. And that's the third level, right? That's the solutions. How does your solution help solve those challenges that they're facing? And you want to be able to map all of these. Okay, my solution help these challenges for that exact reason. And then can you prove it? So if you have case studies, if you've done it before with another customer, a similar customer, then you want to be able to provide that information as well. And so when we look at all of these together, and I will add the differentiation as well, that's the fifth box that I had talked about before, because that's more about your values, is about what your company is about, how you differentiate with your competition. The junction of all of this gives you the customer value proposition. So there are many ways you can formulate that. We help this audience do this with our solution. There's many ways you can do this. And what's important is to use all of this information. The better you nail this, the better the customer value proposition is going to be for each one of your audiences. So and then from there, all the messaging that you can build, you can refer back to this. So when you're going to be writing articles, white papers, whatever the format is, you can come back to this because that's the truth. That's the truth as one moment, right? So it's going to evolve as well. But this is the truth that you can come back to when you write a piece of content, for example. Okay, so then once we understand, yeah, for sure. I can share the slide deck at the end, yes, for sure. Yes, I should have said that before. That's right. Okay, next step is your engagement plan. So once we have a good understanding of the audience, a clear picture of who the audience is, then this is when you can start building the engagement plan and you can start looking at channels. Important to remind everybody about the marketing funnel. I'm sure everyone has seen that in some shape or form. Any buying decision that we make, we go through a similar process: awareness, interest, action, and loyalty. The awareness phase is when your prospective customers start discovering about you. They've never heard about you before, but in this phase, they finally discover you. The interest phase is when you start building the trust. So from that moment they've heard about you, then you're going to take them through a journey where they're going to build trust with them. Action is when they actually become real customers at this stage. And the loyalty is your nurturing phase. This is when you get repeat business, you get referrals. So you're really nurturing that relationship with that customer. So why is it important to know that? Simply because depending on your solution, depending on your service, that funnel might be short, might be a couple of minutes, or it could be months, years. So you want to really understand how your potential customers flow down that funnel, and what you're going to do to take them from one step to the next. When it's very unlikely that we have the budget to focus on all those stages and master it perfectly. So we want to understand where we need to focus our energy on. Is it, are you getting a lot of awareness, so lots of people through the door but not converting much? Or is it more, you're converting really well but people don't know about you, which is most of the time the problem. So you really want to understand that process, that funnel really well for your business specifically. From there, you can build your engagement plan. So at each step, customers will have objectives, right? They'll have goals, and they'll have questions. Can you map these out? Can you find out at the awareness stage, to find you, they need to ask themselves those questions. So I've just put an example here for, say, a carbon consultancy firm. So here, in this example, we're looking at potential customers try to educate themselves on carbon management. They try to understand what options are available to them in that space. They want to identify potential consulting partners who can handle. The question they're asking is the basic questions. How do we calculate a carbon footprint? What's scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions? These sort of questions. So if you know that your audience have these questions and these goals, then you can address them. And then you can get that information in front of them. And this is only when the touch point, the channels come to play. Okay, well now I know that they're looking for this sort of information. I'll make that available on the website, through a blog post, or that's going to be on LinkedIn, or that's going to be through a partner's website, and so on. There's many places we can do that. But really, doing that at each step of the funnel is going to help you know what you need to talk about at each step. Marketing channels. So now that we know what we're going to talk about, to whom, then how are we going to say it? There's many channels. Usually we classify them into 4 categories. You've got your earned media, your shared, owned, and paid media. I know it's a very small slide, you can't really see that small screen, but yeah, again, I'll share the slides. The thing is, you don't need to focus on everything, right? You just need to find a few that will work for you. And you want to map them out to your marketing funnel. So each channel has a role to play in a marketing funnel. So you don't want it to be one thing. PR is going to do everything for you. It's not going to generate sales, it's going to generate a lot of awareness, but that's not necessarily sales directly. So you want to know about what you're going to have to find after that awareness phase. So basically, yeah, each media will be at a different stage of your funnel. At the end of the day, what we want to have is a picture like this one. So it's just an example, but that's a B2B funnel where you have a few channels that you're going to use at each step. So typically in this example, you've got Google Ads and LinkedIn outreach to reach new people. Then you invite them to a webinar. That's how you're going to build that trust. At the end of that webinar, you'll have an email campaign with a promotion that will turn them into customers. And after 3 months, you might have another email, like a referral program to bring their friends on board. I think you know something about this too, right?
And I think one of the things that I highlight here is there is no magic bullet. I mean, Julian said it earlier, we failed a lot on our way through because there's only one way to find out what channel is going to work for you is to give it a try, and then if it doesn't work, you don't do it again, or maybe you try it again later, and for the ones that you do, double down. But you can't just kind of sit there and go, we're just going to do social media marketing because we've seen somebody else do that and that's going to work for us. We thought when we started that was what we were going to do. We very, very quickly learned that you cannot make assumptions about the way consumers are going to behave, and the only way to work it out is to experiment.
Exactly right. So you come up with something like this and you test it, you will analyze it, and then you will modify it, you change it along the way to make it better. Just a quick word on sustainability messaging, because again, we're in a climate space here, so we want to talk about sustainability, which is great. There's a couple of things to follow, a couple of tips. So we want to make sure that we put the right amount of sustainability messaging to the right audience. So not everyone wants to hear about sustainability the same way. Maybe your investors. So if you are an early stage startup, your investors might want to hear about this because they want to put it in their portfolio. But that's not necessarily the case for all your audiences. So just try to remember that this is something that you need to vary depending on who you talk to. Positive messaging works better than negative messaging. So if you want to talk about hope and we can solve a problem rather than this is all doom and gloom. We all know that image of the turtle with plastic wrapped around its neck, that doesn't work really well. So we want to focus on positive messaging. That's what works the best. Sustainability is a journey. And what it means is that we are all on this journey. No one is truly sustainable today. We just can't substantiate that claim. So we can also help people on their journey. So if you help them solve a problem by providing information and free stuff, learning materials, anything that can help them in their journey is going to be well received. And that's the case today. That's what we see. Beware of greenwashing. I know we're in the climate space and we think we don't do greenwashing, but we see that very, very often. The thing is, it's most of the greenwashing is unintentional. We think we're doing the right thing, we're the greenest, we're the most eco-friendly. Well, no, you got to prove it, right? So most of the time we can't. So in Australia, so I invite you to look at the ACCC guidelines. They've been released and finalized in December last year. So that's in Australia what we follow. It's not rocket science. I mean, there's 8 principles that we need to apply. It's not rocket science. It's simply don't lie, don't omit anything, substantiate every claim that you make. That's the sort of things that we want to do. By the way, I'm doing a keynote on Thursday around that topic specifically. If you're interested, we'll go deeper into this. But yes, that's even in the climate tech space, we do find greenwashing sometimes. Dealing with controversy, this happens. There are climate deniers. Unfortunately, we can't do anything about it. I was at a panel just a couple of weeks ago, and that was around sustainability. Someone in the room stood up, asked a question, and started to deny that climate change came from carbon emissions. I couldn't believe it, but it does happen. And the best way to react to this is to simply ignore it. We've been doing this for a few years now. I'm sure you've seen that on Facebook as well as you've been using it.
They're a wonderful group of people on Facebook. How dare you say that about my customer base, Jim? It's or non-customer base.
Yeah, no, it definitely happens on every single channel. Whatever you do, you can't go around it. My advice is just not waste your time. Just ignore it. It's better to focus on people that are on the same page rather than trying to convince people that are die-hard coal fans, for example. Okay, last step, measuring success. So as we've said before, this is a journey. We adapt, we test, we try. We can't get it right straight away, so you want to make sure that you come up with assumptions, try it, find what works, and then you just adjust as you go. Important to also focus on tracking the right KPI. So again, if you're using PR, for example, as part of your mix, measure the results of it for what it is, right? It's not necessarily sales at the end of the day that you're trying to track. The awareness that it's going to generate. So very important to do that.
I'd also say this is incredibly difficult. You think you just plug it into Google Analytics and a whole bunch of reports fall out. It's not easy. It really isn't. Especially when you've got things like above the line media in the mix. So when you're talking about TV, radio, print, which you can't measure via clicks, how much is my 50 grand a month that I'm spending on TV advertising actually influencing my overall marketing mix? I don't think we ever got a full answer for that. We knew it was helping for sure, because if we didn't run the TV ads, the CPA went up on Facebook. But this is difficult stuff to measure, and you need. We had a dedicated data analyst to do this stuff, and it's still hard. don't underestimate the difficulty of measuring your campaigns.
Yeah, and it's not perfect. Like technology is not perfect yet, so it's things that slip through the cracks. So I mean, you get a good idea, right? So if you run a TV ad, you're gonna have a spike of visits on your website. You can probably match it, but yes, it's not gonna be perfect. Like it's not gonna be 100%. So yes, that's something to keep in mind for sure. And that's it, I think, from the theory perspective, right? Maybe we'll keep the questions, if any, for the end. But I'd like to hand over to you, Pete, if you want to talk about PowerPal.
Sure. So, behind the scenes of a high growth startup with a marketing lens. So, what I want to do we'll do this quite quickly because we'll get into the exciting journey shortly. But we did the pre-work that Julian is suggesting. So we did the desk exercise because you have to start with a hypothesis. Although I go on about, we've got to get in the market, you've got to test it, you need somewhere to start, right? So we've done a whole load of pilots before we launched. So we've done pilots with energy retailers, we've had small scale pilots with government, we've done friends and family research, we had a whole bunch of data that we could pull on to try and pull together these, I might just swap just so I can see the screen, so that we could work out what hypothesis was for the customer proposition, where we wanted to put our engagement dollars, and then how we were going to measure success. So very briefly, I've got 3 slides on these. So we knew from the experience that we had with the MVP and the pilots that there were certain levers that people were looking to pull with our product to help improve their energy efficiency and essentially reduce their bills. That was the overall proposition. So there was this pain point about having a high bill and not knowing why was a key one. So helping people to dig down and investigate and understand why their energy bill was what it was. We identified this case where lots of people had got solar but had no engagement with it whatsoever. So they had no monitoring associated with their solar. The typical one would be they've installed solar to help with their energy bill because they've got a pool, but they're still running their pool pump at night. So they're not optimizing their energy consumption for solar. So we knew that was one that got really good feedback in the MVPs. They were looking for efficiency benefits through changes in behaviour. So an example here would be don't run the $10 Kmart bar heater that you bought. Instead, put a heated blanket on, things like that. We had a lot of elderly people were users of the PowerPal product, and these were the types of feedback they get. We didn't realise it was 3 kilowatts was costing me a lot of money. Now I wrap up instead, so behavioural change. And then simply, we had a bunch of people that were just interested in how their home used energy. So not necessarily energy nerds, but we were making the energy data much more accessible than solutions had been previously. So this is what we knew going into the launch, and we also had the advantage that our product was free of charge. So it was funded through a Victorian government program called Victorian Energy Upgrades, which was actually paid for by the energy retailers indirectly. It's called a white certificate scheme, if anybody wants to look it up. But our product was free, and we had these value points. That was our CDP that we were building our initial messaging around. So then we thought, okay, what channels can we use to get that message out to start with? Where do we start? And we had to choose some, right? So you saw Julian's slide with this is the whole universe of marketing channels you can choose from. We had limited amounts of dollars to spend. In an ideal world, we'd have put bets on all of them and see which ones came in, but we had to choose some to get started. So we chose Facebook advertising, flyer drops we did to start with as well, referrals, which Julian mentioned. We didn't actually do TV advertising to start with. I'll talk to where that came into the mix later, but we always had it in the plan. And then we did some shopping centre marketing. So we actually had booths in shopping centres with PowerPal branding and people dressed in PowerPal shirts. And that was mainly to get feedback from the market. So this kind of engagement in the engagement with customers so that we could learn how they were responding to the products. And then what did we want to achieve? Well, we had some pretty audacious goals, which we didn't quite meet, but we didn't get too far off. So our aim was to have 1 million PowerPals installed over a period of 3 years. We actually ended up with 250,000, which was not bad, I reckon. You set a big goal and you're more likely to get most of the way there. It made us by far the biggest energy monitoring solution in Australia. We wanted to achieve 10,000 PowerPal installs per month, which we did achieve, and I'll show you how we did that shortly. $10 CPA, we actually beat that quite significantly in the early days and then didn't do quite as well in the later days. But overall blended, we probably weren't far off $10 customer acquisition cost. And then we wanted to achieve a 4.5 star review rating, and I'll get to that in a bit, see how we did. And then the other bit that we really wanted to do was build this engaged community of energy users. So we didn't want people to just get the product, install it, sort of leave it alone. We wanted them to keep coming back to the product, and we built all of this customer engagement, kind of product-led growth into the product. And that did work. We had more, I think it was 80% of our customers were still monthly active users after 6 months. So people really did use the product, and the features that we built in really did drive them back to use it and benefit from it. So, what does running a high growth tech startup really look like? It looks like an exponential hockey stick growth, right? This is what it really looks like. So this is daily sales of PowerPal over a 3-year period. And just to give some context as to what this means, at the top of that graph, we were installing 600 PowerPals a day, and that we were getting about $100 of revenue for each one of those that we installed. That's $60,000 of revenue, or $2 million a month of revenue. At the bottom, down there, you can kind of see a little bit further along in that graph, after the peak, that was half that. So we went from making $2 million of revenue to $1 million of revenue in less than 6 months. And I'll take you on the roller coaster that we've been through there. So this is what it really looks like behind the scenes. So what I want to do is take you through the timeline and all the things that we experienced along the way, how we ran the experiments that Julian was talking about previously, how we responded to the market, how we learned along the way, and where we failed, where we won, and hopefully everybody can take something away from it over the next 15, 20 minutes. So, getting started, January 2020 was launch time, and we boarded the roller coaster, as you might say. So what did we do? I spent 2 weeks in the field. That's not me, but could be this more handsome version of me doing some door knocking. I literally spent 2 weeks in the field knocking on doors with umbrellas, getting very wet, talking to lots of very interesting people, being told no a lot, and learning a lot very, very quickly in that 2 week period. And we used that to set up to validate our initial hypothesis. So we had those kind of value points that we were pushing. Very quickly landed on the save or build message was the one that really seemed to resonate. The environmental message was a complete fizzer. Sorry for the audience here. That message just did not resonate at all. And we tried things like screw the energy retailers, get your own back, all this sort of thing. None of it really worked. It was the save on build message that resonated with our audience. We tried flyer dropping. That was a complete waste of time. Nobody responded to the flyers at all. I think we did 50,000 flyers and got 15 people sign up from that. So that was a bit of a learning. Referrals did brilliantly because the people who got the product loved it and wanted to tell their mates about it. So we put this referral program in place where we gave people a $5 shopping voucher every time they referred somebody. It was a pretty low barrier of entry. The person who was signing up, it was free, didn't have to buy anything. That worked really well for us. About 15% of our business came through referrals. And that got us started, right? So you can see, look, we thought we were winning here. That is the start of an exponential tech growth curve on there. Fantastic, right? Then COVID hit. 3 months into us having launched the product. Bearing in mind this is a physical product that we had to install in someone's home, even though it can be user installed. In order for us to get the government rebate, we had to send somebody physically to the house to get them to sign paperwork and things like that. And so there's Dan Andrews, bless his cotton socks, telling us that we can't have any beers, and we also couldn't have any power pads. So this was a bit of a problem. So we actually had to lay off everybody except the 3 founders and 1 operations manager, which you can imagine is pretty damn heartbreaking when you just started to get things working. You just hired the team to get going, you're just standing up, and then you've got to say to everybody, I'm really sorry. but we don't have the funds to wait this out. And you can see that was a long wait, right? There's, I don't know what that is, 4 months until the next little spike. And then we got a little bit of a reprieve because we got featured on TV. So that is Craig Castle, featuring the Power products on a Fight for Planet A. And so we spotted that and went, right, we're going to do some, like Facebook marketing. All the way along here, we were doing advertising, but nobody really wants energy monitors when you've got to pay $100 for them. There is a market for that, but it's very, very small. We got this awareness through Fight for Planet A and we doubled down on it. We actually took clips from the Fight for Planet A program and put them up on our social media accounts, which we promptly generated a takedown notice from the ABC to tell us we weren't allowed to use their content. But we did make some sales. We made, I don't know, I think that was about $60,000 of sales or something that we made from that bit, which really helped in those early days and just kind of keeping the lights on.
I guess, sorry, just to illustrate what you said. So you were focusing, Fight for Planet A is for people interested in sustainability. So you probably had only the people that resonated with that message, not the energy service saving people.
It was the way to find that tiny market that was prepared to pay $100 for an energy monitor. So could not have been better, really. So thank you, Craig. You got us through COVID, and then sanity prevailed. So again, Dan Andrews, bless his cotton socks, brought in this rule for solo outdoor trades activities, and this was designed to allow people like Jim's Mowing to come and mow your lawn or trim your hedges and do all of that stuff because people's lawns were being overgrown. And this was very low risk because it's all outdoors, it's only one person. So they let out trades. And we were a solo outdoor home installation company. So there was basically us and Coles that were still open during that last phase of COVID. And we were in a position where everybody was at home. So they were there to get their power panel installed. They were all at home to see our social media ads. And this was just like a gift from God. For coming out of a pretty difficult 6 months and being able to be in that position was just huge for us. So what did we do? I rang around to all my founder friends and said, I've got this opportunity. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. What do I do? And they said, you need to get yourself featured on TV. And so I said, how do I do that? And they said, go talk to this guy. And so I talked to that guy. He was a PR guy from City PR, Tim Allerton, if you ever want a really good PR guy. And literally 2 days later, that lady was in my house interviewing me for Power. It was a 6-minute, basically, advertorial for Power, where they did the whole flying around the house, turning everything on and off. We went around to one of my mates' houses who'd got solar and talked about all the solar opportunity. And it just could not have been better. It actually crashed the servers because of the number of sign-ups that we got off the current affair gig. We then did the same thing we'd done with Fight for Planet A and cut up that segment into a 30-second social media ad and started running that. And that would just run absolutely gangbusters. You can see, look at where we were at the start of the year. It's just like vertical, right? We're like off to the races here. This is fantastic. So that was good. What was not so good was that after COVID finished, everybody went back to work. And all of our tactics that we were using to reach them when they were at home stopped working. So, you see there, our business just absolutely fell off a cliff. That's Christmas, so we did actually shut the business down for Christmas, but then everybody got released for Christmas, and it just went dark, right? There's just nothing. So we're like, okay, what do we do about this? So we're back into like rapid test and learn. And what we found was that we tapped out our initial audience. We had two problems. One was just less people seeing the ads and less people at home. And the other was that we had tapped out this initial audience on Facebook that was resonating with this save on bills message. It just wasn't getting through. And you can see it in the comments where people were commenting on our ads and they were saying, my bill's fine, I don't need this. This is a scam, nothing on Facebook's free. Why would you let these people in to put this tracking device on your house? All of this stuff, right? So we maxed out that Facebook had done a very, very good job of finding that initial audience for us, and we had tapped it out. It was very clear. So then we started playing the messaging again, and we landed eventually on this message, which was, get this free thing because your neighbour already has. Now, when Julian talks about the challenge of pushing a sustainability message forward, to say that's where we landed in terms of what our customer value proposition was, is pretty telling, right? Now, when people got the product installed, they loved it, and they kind of understood what it was, they used it, and they kept coming back, and they gave us really good reviews, and that was fantastic. But if we'd have tried to go in with an environmental message, or we tried the save on bill message, it just would not have worked. That was what worked for us. It was get this free thing because your neighbour already has.
And I guess you can't come up with that by yourself, right? You gotta test it, right? You gotta be on the market and try to see what resonates. Like, how could you come up with this on this, right?
Yeah, I've got 3 versions of an ad on there. There were like 50, right, before we found out which one worked. Just testing. And then, of course, as soon as we realised what was working, we doubled down on it. Sort of the next stage of that was we started getting the installers to take a photo of everybody that we asked them if it was okay if we used their image on social media. And if they said yes, most of them were happy to do it. The installer would take their photo and they send that back to the marketing team. The marketing team then built a retargeting campaign on Facebook so that they saw our initial ad, which was the current affair thing, and then they just started seeing hundreds of people that are smiling and have got a power pallet in their hand. Get this free thing, because your neighbour already has. And look at what it did. Yeah, we went up to, from probably we were making, I don't know, $100,000 a month to $2 million a month in a very, very short period of time. That is what nailing your CVP looks like. So that was happy days, right? And then that worked for a long time. So what did we do? We doubled down. We ran that again. We had done all sorts of business efficiency. We upped our manufacturing so that we could manage the demand because it was going better than we expected. Then we doubled down. We started doing TV advertising. We knew what the customer value proposition was that worked. That's our TV ad on the left there. We also did more PR, so we got ourselves on the news again because we knew that was a good thing to do, and we used those news segments for retargeting as well. It was all about building trust in the brand and the offer because people just thought it was too good to be true if you didn't have all of these things. So happy days. That was my happiest point in my journey on the Powerbell days. We were making a lot of money at that point. Then this happened. So you can see before we got to that point, so this is Christmas again, by the way, and before we got to that point, it had been dropping off, and I'm starting to get slightly nervous at this point. And then we did Christmas, and we came back from Christmas, and it didn't look very good, and we thought maybe everybody's just on holiday, and when they come back in February, it's going to be okay. And then February turned around, and it still wasn't there. And at this point, we're burning $300,000 a month on overheads in marketing, going from being very profitable just 6 months before, and at this point I'm starting to have a lot more hair before that happened. So we realised, okay, the messaging that we've tapped it out again. And this came as a bit of a shock, having gone through this very nice, stable period before that. So what did we do then? We did all sorts of things. We hired professional videographers because we thought maybe we needed to put some polish on the advertising. We went to things like the home show in Victoria because we thought maybe we need to talk to people again and get some more feedback on the messaging. We did print advertising. We had a billboard up on, I can't even remember which road that was, but a massive billboard. And then we used that on the social medias. None of it worked. None of it. This was the lowest point of my Powerbell journey, where I'm thinking, actually, we've got a real problem here. Because you think by this point, we've got a lot of staff. We did actually cut some staff during this period, but we had a minimum amount. We've got a lot of customers at this point using the product. We've got a minimum amount of people that we needed to run the platform, run support. We couldn't just kind of back away from this. And trying to raise money in a situation where you're perhaps doing that is going to be pretty hard. So this was a very challenging part on the Powerbell journey. But it got better again. Because I went around my network again and said, who have you got in your network that's not a typical marketing guy, that can come up with some wild card ideas? We had agencies in there helping us try and test messaging, all sorts of things. None of it was working. We did all the standard things of trying different channels and all this kind of stuff. But I said, I need somebody who's like a wild card that's going to come up with a thing that's going to break this. And I found him through one of my contacts, and he said, what you need to do is you're not personalised enough with what you're delivering. You're going out with too much of a general message, and he comes back to what Julian had said previously. or you've got to get the right messaging from the right person at the right time. And we've done very, very well on generic get this free thing because your neighbour already has for a long time. That stopped working because we were too broad. That was his theory. And I was like, that sounds plausible. Right, what can we do? And we were doing installations in a different suburb every day. So we had 30 installers in the field. We would visit 30 suburbs, and each one of those installers would do 30 installations, typically. So what we did was we changed the ads to be geo-targeted. So rather than doing all of Melbourne, we did postcode-based marketing. And 2 days before, actually 5 days before, and then we changed the messaging 2 days before, the installers would go, we started putting up ads saying, Frankston, we're coming to your suburb to install your PowerPal on X date. Don't miss out, it's nearly booked out, was basically the message, right? So it's a variation on the get this free thing because your neighbours already have, but now it's targeted at you because you're in Frankston, right? And we automated all of this, so we used the Facebook APIs, we integrated it all with the booking system, and not straight away, but once we proved it worked, so that these ads were being generated automatically as the installation runs got booked, and you can see, yeah, that saved the business, right? That one insight. And there was a long, it wasn't like it was a silver bullet because we had to try an awful lot of things before we got to that. If we had not reached that insight and been able to recover with that messaging, we'd have been in real trouble. As it was, we got back up to $2 million in revenue a month pretty damn quickly with having solved that issue. So at that point, my hair started growing back. Unfortunately, not all of it, but that was where we were, and then we got back to sort of basically where we were previously, and then we exited to Amber Electric at the end of 22. So if those who don't know, Amber Electric is a real-time wholesale energy provider, so the price of energy changes every 30 minutes, aligned with what the market price is, so it gets very, very cheap during the middle of the day when there's lots of solar in the grid, and we had the real-time monitoring, they had the real-time pricing. It was a match made in heaven. There were a number of reasons why we decided to exit at that point, but it was a very good exit for both the founders and for the initial investors, and for the team as well, because the team got merged into the Amber Electric business, and they're doing super exciting stuff. So things with EV control, battery control, they're at the absolute bleeding edge of the energy transition. So really, really cool stuff to get involved with. I stayed with Amber for a year to do the integration, get everything kind of handed over, and then moved on. So I'm running a growth consultancy business and helping other founders to not make all the mistakes that we made on the way through. And that's it. Hopefully that might have generated some questions that we can do from there. I've got one more slide. So this is if you tweak the numbers, I can make that journey look like an exponential curve. But that's not quite what actually happened. But we did end up with more than a 4.5 star rating on the App Stores. In fact, we got 4.8 on the Google App Stores. Thank you, Android users. We have more than 15,000 5-star reviews. People really genuinely love their PowerPal. So it's been really gratifying to have gone through all that stress of actually delivering some value on the other side of it. Yes, takeaways. Oh, yes?
Yes, go ahead. I think
so growth's a journey, right?
It is a journey. Yes, I think that illustrates really well what we discussed in the first section of that presentation, where, well, you got to test it, right? You got to adapt. It's not going to work forever. It's ups and downs, and so I think it's really important to think about the marketing holistically as a strategy. It's not just put something in and that's going to work forever and we're going to make millions from it. Usually it's not the case. I
think that was a massive learning for us. So we were technical product founders, really. We'd never done B2C engagements before. And when we thought we got it nailed. At the start of that journey, when the Graph's doing that, we thought we were just geniuses. This is easy, right? B2C marketing, why does everybody make a fuss about it? This is a done deal. Yeah, no. It's a continuous cycle, and if you let the cycle fall away, you can get into trouble really quickly. You always have to have your next move that you want to pull.
It's really interesting because you started over with a very kind of universal customer. You didn't do much market segmentation yet, but it was the market segmentation and actually scaled it properly at the end. And I kind of wonder what would have happened if you actually started with some market segmentation at the beginning and experimented with, okay, what would a really good segment look like here, and throw resources into that.
Yeah.
So the point here for people that can't hear is, should we have done segmentation up front because it was segmentation that worked for us at the end? We did. We tried every possible segmentation method you can imagine. I just didn't have time to go through it. We had Facebook audiences built around bargains. We had Facebook audiences built around solar. We had Facebook audiences built around environmentalists. We had the suburb-based stuff that we did, the door knocking. We started in suburbs that we thought were going to be receptive to environmental issues. We tried everything. All it did was make things more expensive. So the broad message of get this free thing because your neighbour already had, that was the cheapest way to go after the market for us. And we really tried. I kept, but marketing 101 is you look for segmentation, right? And I really pushed for it. I really pushed the team to find that segment. It did not exist. Or if it did exist, we never found it.
And I think it's also because at the beginning you don't have any information. You've got very little data you can work with, right? And not even mentioning budget. So yeah, at the beginning you probably can't do that. And you've got to test a few messages before you land onto that one that works and works with the segmentation that you've chosen as well. So I think, yeah, it takes time. It can't happen straight away, for sure.
And there is the possibility that Facebook found that segment for us at the end of the day. Because Facebook's targeting algorithms, they learn, and you do lookalike audiences and things like that. You never quite know how it's working under the hood or how it's finding these people. But there is the possibility that Facebook actually found as a segment. Maybe, don't know. But certainly our targeting was broad.
I might miss this line point, but we went from trying to find people who could spend $100 a month on monitoring to get this free, which makes them really to change the commercial model.
So the commercial model was always free. So it was funded through a government program called Victorian Energy Upgrades, where essentially the energy retailers paid for the products to be installed. They were required to do so through this legislation. The reason we went to the paid model was because we had to have people visit the home in order to install it, and COVID hit. And we couldn't send people to people's homes, so the only thing we could do was try and sell it online. And that's, so we did that basically to keep the lights on until we could get back out there and start installing the product for free again.
I'll ask two questions if I may. Firstly, Amber, did they come knocking or did you target them? Question one. And question two, are you able to comment about how PowerPal has helped Amber with her own objectives?
Very good questions. So I'll start with the first one. So we actually were at the start of 22 reasonably far down the track of setting up our own energy retailer. To the point where we had the contracts ready to go. We'd hired an executive team to come in and set that up. And we thought this was our sort of land and expand strategy. We were helping you manage your energy use, we were going to scale your energy as well. Then Russia invaded Ukraine and 5 small energy retailers went bust within a month. And we were looking at that and going, this looked quite hard already and now it's looking absolutely impossible. We knew we had a runway to go out for the home energy monitoring. At some point it was going to run out in Victoria. Everybody that wanted one would have one. And we didn't want to get to the point where we'd run out before we started to make our next move. And at that point, we decided we were going to exit. And we were going to exit to an energy retailer because we thought that was the right thing to do. We went to see all of the energy retailers, and we did get 3 that were interested in acquiring the business, and Amber put the best offer forward, essentially. So that was question number 1. Your second question was, how's it going with Amber?
Yeah. Can you comment?
Absolutely fantastic, obviously. No, it has worked very well. The main thing was we were able to take the data that people had already got in their PowerPal and reprice it. So we could show, if you think Amber wholesale pricing is a bell curve, right? So most energy retailers price themselves in the middle of the market. If you use a lot of energy during the day, you're actually cheaper to serve, so you're kind of on the right-hand side of the bell curve. if you use loads of energy during peak, you're over on the left-hand side of the bell curve. So there was a group of people that Amber just makes absolute perfect sense for, because you use energy that suits wholesale power. So what we did was we built features into the app to help people understand what the Amber offer was. And yeah, it works.
So we use it as acquisition channel.
Exactly right. Yep. And then there's cross-sell the other way as well. So we were doing energy efficiency upgrades. So things like hot water systems, heat pump, heating, cooling, so reverse cycle air conditioning. These were initiatives that were coming through the program as well. So we're cross-marketing those into Amber's base. And Amber is growing like absolute video at the moment. They're doing a really, really good job.
You mentioned multiple MVPs. So wasn't that stage that you started figuring out the targeting and what needed to be done, or was after the launch of the final product?
So I'm not sure I understand the question. You said multiple MVPs?
MVP, you said in plural. So you said pilots.
Yes, so one MVP, in terms of the product, multiple pilots that we've done.
So wasn't that stage you started figuring out targeting and launching?
So imagine the pilots being us working with a local council or with an energy retailer to recruit people who are desperately keen on getting hold of energy monitors. This was not our target market, right? So we learned some stuff from dealing with those people. You go after the mass market, the people on Facebook, it's very different out there. So yes, we learned some stuff up front, but we certainly didn't have all the answers until we got into the market and started talking to the Bryans who take their bonds. You don't really understand what the mass market message is going to be, and that's why we started with the environmental message, because that was what worked in the pilots. But then we ended up going with something completely different, which was get this free thing because your neighbour already has, because that's what appeals to the mass market. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So how did the business validation idea or deal validation happen if it didn't have the target up front?
So we'd done these pilots and people loved the product, and we basically, we managed to use that data to get ourselves approved onto this government program, and then we just took a punt that if we could give it away for free, people would say yes.
So you needed the demand was there,
Well, we didn't know the demand was there, but we had a hunch that it would be. So that's, you've got to lay your chips at some point.
Did you have other kind of products that you were competing with, like the watches and racings and that kind of thing? And how did you differentiate against other products that were in the market trying to kind of do the same thing at the same time?
There's a quick answer and a long answer. The quick answer is we were free.
Okay.
The long answer is those are excellent products. Watches, Green Sync, there are lots of them, Sense, Curve, these are fantastic products. But they cost $300 minimum to buy, and they cost you at least $600 to get installed. So our product wasn't as good as theirs, but it was good enough that it delivered a similar, probably 80% of the value of what those products did, but it was free.
And they couldn't get access to the VU, the same kind of scheme.
Yeah, they were on the VU,
Okay.
but they only got $100 off, right? Their products, you're looking at $900, they only get $100 off.
You're going to be motivated to measure your energy consumption.
Yep. What Watch is doing very well. It's a fantastic product, but much smaller market.
I've got two questions now, just to piggyback that. I recognise the accent from that. Smart meters aren't really a thing, are they?
They are in Victoria. Everybody in Victoria's got one.
Right. When they come to Sydney.
There's about 50% of homes have got smart or digital meters now. And there is a target, I should know this, but it changes quite a lot, to have, I think by 2030, everybody's supposed to have a smart meter.
I was going to say, I can take it a little bit more top level for both of you. How are you doing this different out of service business? We've talked a lot about products. Obviously, you said partners for growth now. If it was a service business, like how would you adjust the strategies in the early stages?
I'd probably defer to the expert there.
Yeah, I mean, from a strategy perspective, from an approach perspective, it will be very similar. So it doesn't really matter if it's a product or a service. Like all the logic is the same. So I don't think it will make a big difference from that perspective. You still need to test though. You still need to know your audience and their motivations to land the right message. And you probably will have the same issue where that's going to be changing and you're going to be testing again, and you might have to evolve that messaging as you go. Fundamentally, it's the same approach. It will be the same approach. Yes.
Just interested with the 2030 comment. The body corporates, the rental associations, houses, social housing. What's happening in New South Wales with the installation? Is that a barrier right now? Is it like only 50% or?
It's only 50% at the moment because unless your meter goes wrong, they're not going to upgrade it. So there's two reasons you get a meter installed. One is you have solar installed, in which case you need to have a smart meter installed as part of that. Or you have a problem with your meter and your meter needs replacing. So that's, or it's a new build. And so if your house has been built in the last 15 years or something, you would have had a smart meter installed in it. Are there going to be problems retrofitting them? Absolutely. So with Amber, you get a smart meter installed as part of your service. So you switch to Amber, and in order for them to be able to bill you need a smart meter. If you've got asbestos in your meter box, that's a problem. So there are not many that fall through the cracks there, but there are some, and I would imagine things like public housing are going to be some of the harder ones to address.
And the body corporates and all of that will get on board.
They don't have a choice. It's not their infrastructure, so they just get told someone's coming to replace the meter tomorrow and provide access. It's not a conversation.
Yeah, so it's more about the energy providers to building, who you choose.
Exactly. Well, it's actually the network. It depends. Possibly.
Yeah.
And then there's embedded networks that can be very
Just a question in the climate tech startup space. I've been told scaling from Australia, internationally, you've got to have a plan to scale. I'm interested in that. I don't think that for my business that's viable, but I'm still told you're not going to get funding because there's no plan to grow internationally. And you're a success story that's got not only do I presume you've not expanded internationally, you've just focused on one small part of apparently a very small country for your business, but done very well. Can you comment on the point? Was there a point where you said, okay, the free model's not going to work? Do we cost up, doing a pricing model in the rest of the country? Can we just focus on this Victoria place? Were your founders understanding of that approach?
Great question. I'll try and answer it relatively briefly. When we founded PowerPower, we thought we would be selling to energy retailers. And we did sell to energy retailers. So we sold our products under MOU, and they were our first customers for all 5 of the major energy retailers. And we actually joined EnergyLab. PowerPower was founded here downstairs, and we joined this program because Origin Energy was sponsoring it, and Origin Energy were our first customer. $60,000 invoice was the first invoice I ever issued from PowerPower to Origin Energy. When we went back after the pilots were successful, and the customer feedback was everybody loves it, we thought this is going to be like shooting fish in a barrel. We're clever. We've invented these things like what watches, but free or very cheap for the energy retailers. They're going to, the feedback's off the charts. It's going to be great. I remember very distinctly having this conversation with a gentleman from Origin Energy, where we sort of went through all the data from the pilots, and I'm like, right, let's work out what the next steps are. And he's like, okay, so I get it. So your product helps people save on their energy bill and reduce their environmental footprint by reducing the amount of energy they're wasting. And I was like, you got it. And he goes, you do realise we make money by selling people energy. No, I'm not joking. That's actually what he said. And at that point, I was like, I've been wasting my time for the last 6 months, haven't I? But fortunately, because we had all that pilot data, we were able to pivot into government and take it down the government route, and the energy retailers ended up paying for it anyway because it's a government scheme. So, did I have in my pitch deck, there's going to be 1 billion smart meters globally, and that's why you should invest in us? Absolutely, I did. Did I have in the pitch deck, we are selling to energy retailers? Absolutely, I did. What was the reality? We needed a government program in order to be able to fund the rollout. We've been pretty damn successful doing that, but we weren't able to identify another government program despite very significant lobbying to New South Wales and South Australia. They actually took our product category out of their schemes. I don't know why they did that, just to spite me. But they did, and so basically Victoria was it for us. And then we knew we would have to move to the energy retail model because that's where the money was. And we decided, for lots of good reasons, not to do that alone, but to partner with somebody else who's already an expert at doing that.
Are you still involved with Amber anyway?
So yes, I've still got a contract with them. I'm still in semi-regular contact with the team, but I've stepped down as my sort of operational role as CEO now.
Okay, so I was wondering, do you guys have any direct involvement in the legislation changing in Victoria, or was that just the right place, right time thing? Like you said,
So we went in and pitched to a guy called Jack Brown from the Department of Land, Water and Planning, who had a project on his table called the Smart Meter Benefits Realisation Project, which was where the Auditor General had audited the smart meter rollout in Victoria and found that they'd spent $4.5 billion rolling it out and no customer benefit had been realised at all. And in fact, it was costing consumers $700 million a year extra now that they've got the smart meters in place. And they were starting to ask some questions about this. And so we rocked up with our kind of case study saying, we can make smart meters awesome, and we think we can solve your problem with the Auditor General, but we're all about to give up and get jobs because we can't sell it to anybody. And he was the guy that said, we've got this program called Victoria Energy Upgrades. You don't quite fit, but submit your product and we'll see what happens. Now, I don't know what happened, but I have a strong suspicion Jack advocated for us in the background.
and that was one other question I kind of wanted to ask earlier. Like, this kind of stuff is unquantifiable, but it's pivotal to the start of the game. Could you really offer any thoughts on that? Just in general, like.
So the question again.
As in, this kind of networking, it's unquantifiable in a metric sense.
Yep.
But it's probably how 99% people get their first break.
Yep.
What would you offer as a thought on that for us?
All right, let me run you through a few things. Who was my first customer? Origin Energy. How did I meet Origin? Because I joined EnergyLab. How did I find my industrial designer? Through networking with another founder that had already made a physical IoT product. How did I work out how to get the PR that got us started? Because I spoke to another founder and said, how did you do it? And he said, do PR. This is the guy you need to talk to. If I hadn't done networking, I'd be dead in the woods.
I agree. Like networking is everything, right? That's the key. And from a marketing perspective, there are ways you can make that faster and bigger. LinkedIn is fantastic. So yeah, that's a good way. There's ways to automate that as well. That works really, really well. Growing the network. That's number one for sure.
Pete, with your working week, how much thought did you put towards growing customer base and those messaging problems? Is it a constant headache, or is it something that you would dedicate with your team once a week, or is it?
So yes, we would do a commercial review once a week. When that was going up, that commercial review was very quick, and when it was going down, it happened about every 5 minutes. As a founder, and especially as a founding CEO, your one and only job is to eliminate constraints in your business. So you focus your efforts on the bit that is stopping you from growing. If that's marketing at that point in time, that gets 100% of your focus, because you should have set your business up such that the other bits will all run by themselves, and this is the bit that needs your attention. If it's manufacturing, for example, which was when we were scaling our video, being able to manufacture the product, I didn't have anything to do with the marketing. I had a team of people that were looking after that. I was in Taiwan, getting the factory tooled up to deliver twice what we were expecting it to. So as a founding CEO, that's just my personal experience. You are focused on the one bit that is stopping your business from growing and from delivering customer value. And that changes day to day.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. If you have more questions, feel free to connect with us, LinkedIn, email, if you'd like. Also, we're planning to run group workshops to help people go through those challenges. So if that's something you're interested in, you can either send us an email or scan that QR code. We'll be more than happy to organize that. I think we still have about 20 minutes. I can't see Luke, but I would say 20-25 minutes if we want to stay around and have a bit of a chat, and then we'll have to get a room for the next session. But thank you everybody for coming tonight. It was great. Thank you very much. Thank you.